What's up? I'm Dwayne Rambo, and this is Home Improvement. Welcome back to another episode of the Quarantine 2020 Build-Off. This week, we challenged the builders to the Hybrid Challenge. So as I talked about in last week's video, there was a whole nother tier that I have not been covering. That's the beginner intermediate tier. We put them together and we put the advanced and master builders together in another tier. And this week, we're gonna be covering some of the builds in the beginner intermediate tier. So let's take a look at those. Okay, so out of the beginner intermediate tier, I selected 5 builders in no special order to showcase their builds. And the first one up is Kenny Coppagins. Sorry if I'm wrecking your guys' names. I'm trying my best here. So Kenny says his specs are the outer wraps, 12-ply staple framed with 25 gauge, end fuse with micro alien. Inner wraps, he's got staggered fuse with micro alien. The core, 12-ply staple framed with 25 gauge. So interesting choice of wire here. He's got this mounted up in the death trap. Let's look at another photo from Kenny. Okay, so on this one you can see he's got that an alien fuse. He's got staggered inside of there. And he's got the core of this fused up. So this way it stays together a lot easier and it looks pretty cool too. Gives a different look. So that alien, he's got fusing around the outsides, and then he did this hybrid transition on the inside wraps, which is pretty cool what he did here. I dig it. The creativity is there. And builders like this is the stuff that you see and from intermediates where they start making their way on up to advanced builders, and then being a master builder. So moving on to the next builder I selected. So we have Lars Christian, and he says his specs are 29 gauge frames, Nichrome 80. He's got 0.3 8-ply ribbon, a mix of Kanthal, Nichrome 90, and stainless steel 316L. He's got an interlocking alien with 38 gauge interlock, so it's 2x38, and that's stainless steel 316L and Nichrome 80. He's got 0.3 stainless steel 316L ribbon clapped in with 44 gauge Nichrome 80. But again, with this tiny wire, and this is being done in the beginner intermediate tier. So these guys, we're getting down to the best of the builders in this lower tier here, and you're starting to see some of this work these guys are doing, and it's mind-blowing. If you want to catch some of these other builds that you haven't had a chance to see, that I haven't showcased in the intermediate tier, you can head over to the Facebook Coil Wars group and request to join the group. It might even be me that lets you in, one of the staff and admin members that lets you in. But this is where you see the rest of these builds from the beginner intermediate tier. These guys are out here slaying it too. There was a lot of them. We couldn't cover them all, but now we're narrowing it down to less of them. Let's take a look at another photo. All right, so this one here, you can see is getting it colored up. This is the beginning stages of it, as you probably heard me saying in the last one. So you start getting them golds first, and it looks pretty slick like this. So he's got the interlocks on the outside. He's got a regular alien on the inside, and he's got his fuse wire that's holding it together. The one that's just the basic ribbon wire that's going over, that's 0.3 that he has fused with 44 gauge. And you look at 44 gauge fused on something when it's fused tight like this, it just looks like a chrome sheet. It looks like tin foil. Reflective, you can't even tell that it's a fuse wire over it. It's crazy looking in person. So let's move on to the next one that I picked here from the beginner intermediate tier. And Jason Campbell he says, this was a first for me, and it was hard, and finally managed to get something I was happy with. Core wires, a 26 gauge staggered fuse, and alien wrap 34 gauge all stainless steel 316L. The core wires are 26 gauge staggered fuse, and the alien's 34 gauge, 4mm inner diameter, and the rebirth RPM. So that's what he's got on here, and I dig this, man. It reminds me of some of the first hybrids that I was doing. Let's take a look at another photo from Jason. So on this one, you can see up really close. You can see the alien and the staggers right next to each other. Usually when you do something like this, both of these are 3 cores, so you can take the 3 cores and alien over those, and then you're ready to do your stagger first, and then after you got your little gaps, you measure everything out in your hybrid. You can come back in it and fill your aliens into it. It's pretty cool. When you're done doing it, you're done hiding the transition seams in the back corner of the build. It's real tricky getting them to wrap like that. And once you get it nailed right, even with something like this, it's something to be happy about. This is pretty cool, man. Okay, so here we got Peter Frey, and he says, this one was a nightmare to photograph, but it was the best I can do. The hybrid mothership / Enigma, 3mm ID, inner diameter. So it's got a 0.1 resistance, dual coil, and the cat fits, he says. So the core is 12-ply 0.3 Nichrome 80 with 28 gauge frames. It's fused with 38 gauge and 44 gauge. So Again, this is tiny stuff, hard to work with. Then he's got 40 gauge, 2x40, 40 gauge stainless steel, nichrome 80 mix going on here. That's what he says. So looking pretty good here, Peter. Let's take a look at another one of your photos, man. All right, so this one you can see a little closer. You can't even really tell that he's got that 44 gauge fused over the wire, that 38 gauge there. That just looks like a piece of wire. Peter did something pretty cool here, and I'm gonna show a third photo for this, just to show you guys out there in YouTube world, the transition of a hybrid build from one fuse to the next. So I kind of blew this up a little bit, but you look in the dead smack in the center here, you can see where that Enigma meets in with the Mothership Alien, and you can see where the fuse wire. Now you'll take that fuse wire right in there and you calculate the length of the wrap. So that way, every time you change the wrap on a transition, it's hiding in the back, under in the back against the post in the, in the back half area there. And, the trick is to hide these transitions. And, I just wanted to go ahead and show you guys that out there in YouTube world. That's kind of how we're doing it here. Okay, so up next we have Salvador Manduajano. Man, I'm butchering names. I already know I am. So anyways, Salvador specs say, my hybrid coil, 4-ply 0.3 with 28 gauge frames. So there's two pieces of 28 gauge, one on each side. He's got interlocking 38 gauge. So there's two 38 gauge wires that are parallel and then alien fused over the sides here. He's got for the SFC, he's got 2x38. So it's just fused with 38 gauge. And the mother alien stitched is 1x38, 144, and 140, all in 80. Oh, so he took 44 gauge and he fused over the 38 gauge. And then he stitched it with 40 gauge. And that's what's in the center that you're looking at here. So he's got a staggered staple fuse Clapton that's on the inside outer wraps, the second and fourth wrap. And the middle wrap here is an alien that's stitched up, and the outer wraps are interlocking Fralians, interlocking alien presentation. And this is pretty slick. So when you're switching up from one entire build to the other, you have to do some planning when you're doing that. So, and I'm pretty sure this build started out with the staggered build, so he had those parts in there, and so he can get those lined up, and then you're able to come back in and do your alien fuse in the gaps that you left open. So it's a pretty slick build, and I admire stuff like this. I remember back when I was doing this kind of stuff, and it didn't take much longer from there when I was out there slaying it, building with the big dogs, So these guys, keep your eyes open for these guys. These are the up and coming builders that you're going to see in the advanced master tier, the next build off. Don't be surprised, because these guys are learning from Instagram. They're learning from the Coil Wars Facebook group. This community, we share all of our knowledge. It's man. So I can't wait to see what these guys are doing in another year from now. Good job with all you guys in the beginner intermediate tier. All you guys over there right now are slaying. So let's move on to the advanced master tier and see what these guys got up their sleeves. All right, so up first we have Kyle Griffiths. Kyle has a double-sided binary Felix, naked Helix hybrid, what he calls it. So he's got 0.34 ply on each side that's fused with 44 gauge, if you're looking up in there, and that's on the inside of the Helix. He's got 0.8 by 0.2 in the center. I've been seeing this 0.8 by 0.2. I need to get me some. Where are you guys getting this stuff from? Anyways, he's got that laying as the valley for the binary here. Pretty dope. And then you can see that he took the Felix fuse off of the center here and made it look really, really cool. It's more of a simple hybrid, but and he's got this polished up as well. It looks like. Oh, maybe he don't. Let me see here. Yeah, he's got polished frames. So he twisted 4 28 gauge and polished those up, which looks pretty sharp. I dig it, man. I like that. Let's take a look at another pic. Okay, so taking a look here, you see it nice and colored up, looking pretty good. I'm digging he's got the blues and the reds. And take a look at the binary he's got here in the center. You see it over that 0.2 by 0.8 flat wire, and you see the colors contrasting from where that binary was laying up against it. And that's pretty cool. I dig it. And looking here at a stick shot, just beautiful. Just beautiful. See the colors coming in? So I don't look at these a whole lot. I wait until I see this here. So this way, it's fresh for me when I see these builds. I don't want to be to the point where I'm already tired of looking at the builds. I want it to be nice and fresh for me, when I'm looking at these. So as you can see the 44 gauge, how small it is here if you look, and then that 38 gauge laying over the top of it, that's the alien making the Felix, the alien the Alien fuse over to Helix, and that's 38 gauge, looking a lot bigger than that 44 gauge underneath. That's the little staples. He's got 0.34 ply underneath those. So this is a dope build. I really dig it. And Kyle's opponent, Simon Day. So Simon, what he says he has here is a 42 gauge pitchfork, double stag hybrid. The cores are 0.3 nichrome 80 blended with Kanthal KA1. All fuses are 42 gauge nichrome 80. He said this build fucking killed me. I'm dead. Cheers. All right, so look at this here, man. This is a nice and tiny 42 gauge. This stuff takes forever. And you know, he's got two separate fuse patterns going on here. Let's take another look at a photo here. You got, yeah. So if you look really close, look at the outside wraps. That's a different fuse pattern. That's a Staggerton. You've got the ribbon core inside of there. And then if you look into the middle wraps here, it's a different fuse presentation. He's got the forks inside of there instead of it being like the Staggerton where it's just skip fuse and you know, you add frames to it. And you know, that's a slick build. And plus, when you only add one ply of ribbon on the sides here with something like 42 gauge, it's very risky when you're wrapping these in the coils. It's happened to me when I first started doing them years ago, where you wrap them, that sharp edge of that piece of ribbon on the end will snap the fuse. So you got to be real careful. These builds like to lock into each other too. So as you wrap the coil and you let it, you know, as you let it open back up, it'll open itself back up. It'll snag the fuses. These are real finicky ones here. And real quick, I wanted to show you this drip shot. It's real cool when you see these, how it magnifies everything in the inside and kind of gives it that fisheye look. Super cool, man. Super cool. You see the reflection of what he's got going on in the background here. It looks like some speed lights. Good job, Simon. And the judges really liked your build, Simon. That's why you'll be moving on to the next round. Kyle, thanks for participating, man. You're a fantastic builder. So up next, we got Gabriel Serra. He says, it's a stack variation, naked to staple in the middle of the space fuse on the side. So that's his English translation. English isn't his native language. Triple corrugated on 0.3 of stainless steel and nichrome 80. Got 0.8 ribbon of 0.3 on stainless steel and nichrome 80. Square 0.3 nichrome 80. He did the staple with 42 gauge of stainless steel and nichrome 80. And spaced it with 42 gauge of nichrome. And these are his specs. Outside, he's got the Suka 0.4, so that's stainless steel. The first inside is a double Enigma. It's got 0.2 stainless steel. Second is the Razorback Enigma Stitch, 0.3 stainless steel, 38 gauge nichrome 80. So this is a sick build. The photography of this, the execution, the cleanliness, just this right here so far is one of the best builds I've seen all year. Not just one of the best builds that it's built off. I personally, this is a nice build. He killed it. He slayed it. Look at the cores inside. They're different. Look at the corrugated you see there, then you see the fuse going on over here. I mean, he's probably got the corrugated covered up in there, so it don't look like it. But if you look at that middle wrap on the inside there, you see he's got them 3 wires in there, corrugated. Unbelievable. Let's take a look at another photo. And looking here, man, you see it all colored up. The photography he's taking here. I mean, you can make an average build look fantastic with photography, yes. And you know, when you take a fantastic build and take fantastic photography, this is what you get right here. This is the real deal right here. Wow. Gabriel's opponent was Jeff Noose. Let's see what Jeff Noose got. So Jeff Noose has the main core, 6 ply 0.3 ribbon frames, 2 by 2 by 29, 2 by 2 by 29 gauge. Not quite sure what that means. Oh, he's got 29 gauge parallel laying sitting as the frames on the outside here. You take a look at it. The Enigma is done with 38 gauge. And the stitched interlock is 40 gauge. So not looking too bad. He's got a variant of aliens going on here. The alien Staggertons, the outside wraps. He's got the middle inside wraps as an Enigma, and then that middle wrap is interlock that's stitched. So you've got the alien Staggerton into the Enigma into that center wrap that's a stitched interlock. So not bad. These hybrids, you know, you can get super creative with it. And you know, and every time I built one, I never exactly know how it's gonna come out. You just gotta do it, you know, and that's what they're doing here. That's what the guys are doing. Let's take a look at another photo. So now you can see it. It's a little bit colored up here, looking pretty slick. He's got the Alien Staggerton spaced a little bit. You can see inside the cores, and it's not exactly perfectly nailed, and that's why the judges chose Gabriel to advance. So with this build being a little bit off, and Gabriel Sarah, he just came with that. That was just perfectly executed, and that's why the judges gave Gabriel this round. Congratulations, Gabriel. Jeff, we'll see you next build off, buddy. Keep that drill spinning, man. All right, so Mass Coils. He says, "Hi, dude. This is my entry for round 4 in the hybrid." So the Ribbon Enigma he's got here is 0.3, and the Suka he's got here is 0.3 as well. He's got that as stainless steel. The Ribbon Enigma is 0.3 stainless steel with the same twist ribbon, Clapton stitch. Razorback Enigma 0.3 stainless steel and 36 gauge. There's so many wire specs here. I can't even begin to even start them with you. So let's take a look at another photo for Mass Coils. All right, so looking closer here, you see he's just got a whole lot of craziness going on here. He really does. He's got the one coil wrapped tightly in the center, that's up on the top, and he's got the other one kind of just fluffed open, and he's got a bunch of parallel wires going on that coil. He fused it twice. He did some, looks like a fused twisted wire or something. His specs are just so wrong. I should probably just screenshot them to you guys. But the color patterns he's got going on here are nice. So Mass Coils' opponent is Martin Mahler. Let's take a look at one of Martin's photos. All right, so Martin says he has 28 gauge frames on this with 13 ply 0.3 ribbon, that's Nichrome 80. It's fused with 38 gauge stainless steel 304. Micro Clapton 0.3, he say Micro Clapton 0.3 with 48 gauge. Yowza, 48 gauge. He used 48 gauge, that's tiny. If you haven't seen, 48 gauge is probably thinner than my hair. Yeah, and that 48 gauge is stainless steel 316L. That's even softer. His Nichrome 80 is a little easier to work with in comparison to stainless steel. So good, killer job on that, man. That Micro Clapton stuff is not easy. If you haven't tried doing a Micro Clapton, you have to try it before you write some of these builds off, because that stuff's not easy to work with. Let's take a look at another photo from Martin. So as you see here, looking straight down into the back end, you can see where the transitions are happening, where you make one fuse wire and meet to the other fuse wire, and you hide that underneath the build. That's kind of how you get away with these hybrid builds. And you can see in the corners, in the back half by the posts there, where it started coming apart a little bit. And that's probably a reason why the judges gave this to Mass Coils, because this was a close one here. And I think that's the reason why the judges liked Mass Coils build better. This was a very nice build, man. This had to be a tough one for the judges. It definitely had to be a tough one for the judges. Looking at this build, looking at the other build, these guys are neck and neck here with these builds. And, congratulations, Mass Coils. We'll see you next round, brother. All right, so up next we got Bruno Mayad, but we didn't get any specs from Bruno. But you can see here he's got a hybrid going with the Staggerton. Looks like he's got 4-ply ribbon in the center there. This could be either 40 gauge or 38 gauge. I'm not 100% sure. I'm just guessing by looking at it, so don't hold me to that. He's got the core wires in here corrugated, so you run those through some gears and give him that nice and windy look there. And man, these are tricky builds to pull off. So let's take a look at another photo from him. So looking a little bit closer here, you can see that he's got the Staggerton going over to the forks, and it looks like he's got it spread open a little bit there on him. Sometimes that happens from wrapping the coil, sometimes just not fusing it tight enough. But you can definitely see where he's got this spreading apart from each other there. Bruno's opponent, Marco Cabeza, let's take a look at one of his photos. Okay, so Marco's specs are, he says he's got 14 ply 0.3 Nichrome 80. He's got 40 gauge Nichrome 80 for the Staggerton, 44 gauge for the outer things. You know what they're called, LOL. So, yeah, he's got some wire here. You know what they're called. So he's got, looks like he's got a Staggerton variant here, like a double Staggerton in the core here. And on the inside, he's got just a basic Staggerton with, looks like he's got a fat stack of ribbon inside. The middle one, he's got that 14 ply staggered, and then it looks like he's got 14 ply on the outside, but he double staggered it. Gives it that kind of pitchfork look, but it's not quite a pitchfork. It's still pretty cool though. I like when you do them in the layers like that, pretty slick. Let's take a look at another photo. All right, so on this one, it's a little bit dark here, but you can see he's got some colors going on. And you can see over on the sides here, he's got a little bit of a sloppy fuse going on. And you know, things like that are gonna deter the judges from picking one build over the next build. They look for cleanliness. That's usually, you know, something that's, you know, on the top of the list when it comes to judging. But that's probably one of the reasons why the judges selected Bruno to advance to the next round. Congratulations, Bruno. We'll see you next round. So that concludes the builds for this week. The next week we challenge the builders to extension builds and bridge builds. So let's slap one together. It's been a while since I messed around with this kind of build, so let's see what I can do. So as you've seen, I installed this in the Layer Cake RDA, and I wasn't thinking, I've had this RDA sitting around for a long time and I have not used it. I decided, well, it's a beautiful deck. I've taken some shots of the deck, but I haven't used the deck yet. I did know that it's set up with the legs to go high and low. It's much like the Petrie RDA that came out, the Petrie 24, the dot mod RDA. I think it was a Petrie RDA or the dot mod RDA. But anyways, I knew better than the post going high and low. I set this thing up so they would both set into something like the goon. So I just dug up an old goon and shoved it in there, and I pulsed the coil. I started out at 12 watts, and then I jumped up to 20 something watts, and I think I cycled right through the colors really quickly, or maybe that was just because I polished it. I'm not 100% sure why it didn't color up as much as I had hoped it would, but I got some of the golds in there, and then I just cycled right through. I jumped up the wattage to about 24 watts, and it just pulsed right through the colors. I was hoping to get you guys some nice colors in that one, but it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, so you get what you get.